Welcome to Naturally Off Topic, a podcast where we discuss legends, theories, crimes, and more. I'm Mariah.
And I'm Megan, and today we're discussing some of Ed and Lorraine's most iconic cases. Woo! That was a little bit of a mouthful there at the end. I really
We're
had to
kind of
think
not
about.
sure. Yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
know how long to make that one.
yeah. So bear with us, guys. What the fuck is going on? Well, what's today? It's a Wednesday. How exciting! Hump
Wednesday,
day,
the day before Halloween.
the day before Halloween, and we're keeping up with our theme here, which is spooky stories. Ooh.
Yes, I think that coming up soon here, we'll definitely have to do a crime because we say
Mhm.
touch on crime. We have yet to touch on crime.
We do, and I have so many cases that I love watching, like crime documentaries, and I have so many that I want to talk about, and then I just am like, wait, that takes a lot of research and time, so we have to pick like the perfect time to do it.
But also, I just get so invested in like hauntings and like
Yep.
legends and like when I'm in like a vibe, I stick in that vibe. So once I get on the crime train, I'm gonna be there for a bit. And we're just gonna
Yeah,
have to let it mellow.
yeah.
Let it yellow,
Sorry.
let it mellow.
Yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. Why the fuck do I know that?
I was like, where am I going with this?
Oh, sorry guys. So as last time, I'm recording in my bathroom because I don't have any like good space to record. But with that being said, my cat keeps trying to come in and hang out with me, but I have to leave the door open and he keeps freaking running in and out. So sorry if you guys heard that little fiasco.
I mean, over here you might hear a dog barking or, skittering across the floor as he does.
Yeah.
Um, well, like we said, we're talking about Ed and Lorraine's most famous cases, mainly The Conjuring and Annabelle. However, if you did listen to last week's episode, which was low-key chaotic, sorry,
Yes.
irony details, you'll know that Megan did more than just she went above and beyond. So I think how we're gonna do it today is Megan's gonna tell us however many stories she feels she needs to get off her chest. I'm gonna listen and be a good girl. Okay, that sounded cute. And then
Kinky.
maybe I'll touch on my story and then we'll go back to Annabelle. How does that sound?
I think that that sounds like a great plan for today, and I cannot wait to dive in.
All right, so tell me a story, Megan. What's up?
Alrighty. So to start, I kind of was like, let's stick true to the script. I do want to talk a little bit about Annabelle because this is a story I actually did a little bit more research, deep dive into. And when I after the last episode that we recorded, Mariah poked a lot of holes in a lot of things that the Warrens had done throughout their investigation and honestly, primarily their lives. And so I started attacking this story with a similar lens. So, first thing I want to do is I'm going to tell you guys the story and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. So, and this is where the first tie-up comes in. It's not clear if it was 1970 or 1971 because I had multiple sources that told me both. So I didn't want to say it's one or the other, but it was in Hartford, Connecticut, sometime between 1970 and 1971. Two roommates reported that their Raggedy Ann doll, let's not get confused with the movie doll. This is a very different looking doll. Think of like the 70s Raggedy Ann dolls that, like my mom has one or had one, and I think I still have it like somewhere.
They
And
have
now
the red hair. It's like
yeah,
yarn.
yes, very yarn
Yeah.
based.
They look like a plush doll that you would just throw
Mm-hmm.
around a house. They don't even look like a traditional doll, so to speak.
Yep. So these two roommates reported that this doll started to move around strangely, and they were led to believe eventually that the doll was possessed by a girl named Annabelle Higgins. However, further investigation states that it wasn't actually a girl in that. It was a otherworldly demon situation. So,
Disguising themselves as an
yep.
Annabelle.
So there's
No
actually
spoilers here, but
yep. So we don't really know the origin of Annabelle other than in 1970 or 1971, a mother purchased an antique Raggedy Ann doll from a hobby store. The doll had been a present for her daughter, Donna, who was preparing to graduate from college with a nursing degree. Um, and she was very excited to get this. And within days, Donna and her roommate, Angie, so Donna and Angie, noticed that there appeared to be something very strange and creepy about the doll. The doll mysteriously seemed to move about the house, relatively small movements at first, because if we know anything from the horror movies, it always starts slow and then it makes its way into the nitty-gritty craziness.
They
Um,
gotta build that energy, dog.
yeah. So
And
Donna
this
and
is why
Angie,
you never shop at Hobby Lobby.
yeah. So who knows? Who knows where it originated? Annabelle Higgins. Who the fuck are you?
She came from a Goodwill.
She came from
Also,
Uh,
why did the mother like buy this for her like college age daughter?
oh, actually, I skipped over that because I didn't think you'd want to know, but
I'm just
now I'm
curious.
curious.
Why?
So the notes I have is a nurse is pleased with the cute Raggedy Ann doll. Donna placed it on her bed as a decoration and didn't give it a second thought. So she was excited.
Oh, so it was like a decoration.
Yeah, so like I don't like I have
Why?
some of those. Oh
Okay,
my
but
God,
a Raggedy Ann doll is an ugly ass decoration. And please don't haunt my ass, Annabelle. I don't mean you, honey. I mean,
yeah, but let's think about the time. This was in the 1970s. That I think was a hit toy around that time. So I think that could be a huge possibility as to why maybe, she had it. But who knows? But anyway, so soon Donna and Angie would come home to find that their doll was completely in a different room. Sometimes the doll would be found legs crossed, arms folded. Other times it would be found upright, standing on its feet. Several
that's
times,
disgusting.
yeah, several times Donna sometimes left the doll on the couch before leaving for work and would return to find the doll back in her room on the bed with the door closed. So this shit's getting weird.
Annabelle's low-key masturbating in the bedroom.
L- Okay, so there's this spoof called, I forget, I think it's called like Haunted House or something. And literally the entire like movie is like making fun of different horror movies. And Annabelle is one of the like characters. The dad or whatever ended up like hooking up with Annabelle like in this.
No,
It's so funny. I'm gonna have to send it to you. I've seen it. It's kind of like the scary movies, how they make fun of all the different scary
I
movies.
love that. That's fucking
Oh, but it's
hilarious.
not part of the scary movie series. I have to think
Yeah.
what the name is, but I'll find it. I know the actor. So he was one of the guys in White Chicks, one of the
Nice.
main
Why does that sound
protagonists.
familiar to me?
White
Maybe I
Chicks,
watched it too.
my
No, no.
favorite.
We definitely talked about white chicks back in our
Oh,
incognito days, but I
oh
mean
yeah.
actor, like being in a thing. Like this story that you're telling me sounds like something I've watched.
Yeah, you probably have. I'll send it to you again though, and you can let me know. So anyway, getting back naturally off
Okay.
topic here. Well, let's get back into it. Donna and Angie also said they would find parchment paper with notes on it, reading like "Help us" or "Help Lou," and it was almost like in handwriting of like a child, essentially. So at this point, with all this stuff going on, Donna and Angie decided that the best way to proceed with this predicament would probably be to reach out to a medium. And
Quick
they,
note.
what?
Sorry. So, quick note, I didn't touch anything with Annabelle, but during my research, every story I heard that mentioned Annabelle said the thing about the parchment paper that was the most concerning was that apparently, allegedly, these girls didn't own any parchment paper.
Yep. So funny enough, I did kind of move over that, but yeah, my note is at the time they never kept this type of paper. So they were like, where the hell is this coming from? This is not normal. This is not right. Like, what the fuck? So, at this point, they're scared. So they end up having a seance. And this is where they're actually introduced to the spirit of Annabelle Higgins. The medium related the story of Annabelle to both Donna and Angie. Annabelle was a young girl that resided on the property before the apartments were built. They were quote unquote happy times, I guess. She was a young girl of only 7 years old when her lifeless body was found in the field upon which the apartment complex now stands. The spirit related to the medium that she felt comfort with Donna and Angie and wanted to stay with them and be loved. Feeling some compassion for the Annabelle doll and this Annabelle Higgins, Donna, I guess, in this seance gave permission to this spirit to inhabit this doll and stay with them. But unfortunately, things, didn't did not stay as they should. So going back to the parchment paper piece, how one of the messages were help Lou. So Lou was actually a friend of Donna and Angie and had been with them since the day the doll has arrived. Lou had never been fond of this doll and on several occasions warned Donna that it was evil and to get rid of it. But Donna had this compassionate tie to the doll and not giving much thought to Lou's feelings, she ended up keeping it. Um, Lou awoke one night when he was staying over from a deep sleep and in a panic. Once again, he had a recurring bad dream, which I guess has been a recurring thing for him recently since the doll started being here. Only this time, somehow, something seemed different. It was as though he was awake but couldn't move. So, what is that called? Like lucid dreaming when you're like
Oh
awake,
wow. Oh man, I know it.
right?
Oh
It's like, I
God.
think it's lucid dreaming, right?
No, 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 no. There's it's a nightmare version. There's one
Night
called
terror,
oh, it's bothering me. Ugh, it's close to a night terror. Damn it. If it comes to me, I'll
sleep
tell you.
paralysis.
Yes, that's it. It's sleep paralysis.
Damn, I am good. Anyway, so in this dream, he couldn't move and he looked around the room, but couldn't discern anything out of the ordinary. And then looking down towards his feet, he saw this doll, Annabelle, who was just chilling there. And it began to slowly glide up his leg, moved over his chest, and then stopped. So this doll is now right on top of his chest. And
Not glide.
poor Lou.
You just picture just like a fucking Annabelle doll just like slowly like slicking across your leg like a slug.
I literally would shit my brains out. And side note, my cat literally just almost fell off my nightstand, or not my nightstand, my dresser.
Yeah, your cat
Sorry.
was that shook at what we're saying.
Seriously. Anyway, so when this started to happen, the doll started to strangle him once it was on his chest, and he was paralyzed, grasping for air, and then blacked out. He awoke the next morning, certain that it wasn't a dream, and Lou was determined to get rid of the doll itself. However, he would have one more terrifying experience with Annabelle before he was actually able to just get rid of it. Well, more like before the Warrens actually get involved. So, preparing for a road trip the next day, Lou and Angie were reading over some maps alone in her apartment. The apartment seemed eerily quiet, and suddenly rustling sounds come from Donna's room. Aroused with fear that someone maybe had broken into the apartment, Lou, determined to figure out who or what it was, quietly made his way to the bedroom door. He waited for the noises to stop before entering and turning on the light. The room was empty except for Annabelle, who was tossed on the floor in the corner. Um, Lou looked around the room and nothing else was out of place, but um he just kind of had this like distinct feeling that somebody was behind him while he was like walking around the room trying to see like what was there. And then all of a sudden, like in a flash, he found himself grabbing for his chest, doubled over, cut, and bleeding. His shirt was stained with blood, and upon opening his shirt on his chest was what looked like to be seven distinct claw marks, three vertically and four horizontally. All were hot like burns. These scratches healed almost immediately, half gone the next day, fully gone by 2 days.
Mm.
I would honestly be very curious, and maybe I need to do more research into this. Is like how many people ended up seeing him outside of Donna and Angie saw those scratches,
Right, exactly.
like as a critic, I'm like,
My mind
so
is like, okay, so wait, so 1970, when would most people have a camera? What year do you think?
cameras have been around since, 1800s. By the 70s, they would have like a
Like
giant video camera.
popular.
Uh,
Like, do you think that your average household would have had a camera by the time this was happening? Because
maybe
I'm
not.
telling you, if a
No.
goddamn fucking doll strangled my ass and like caused me to bleed everywhere, I would take a fucking picture. Believe it or not, I'd say, hey, this doll fucking did this shit to me.
If I were to guess, I don't think cameras and video cameras were probably common in households. I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
like they were just starting to get color TV, right?
Uh,
That might be that might be much earlier.
my uneducated ass.
hmm So finally, since at this point, clearly the seance didn't work, they decided they needed to reach out with someone who maybe would have had a little bit more expertise on spiritual matters. So they reached out to Father Keegan. And so he contacted Father Cook, who immediately contacted the Warrens. So the Warrens obviously immediately took interest in this case. And after speaking with Donna, Angie, and Lou, came immediate conclusion to the doll itself was not in fact possessed, but manipulated by an inhuman presence, the demon. Spirits do not apparently in they do not inanimate objects like houses or toys. They possess people. An inhumane spirit can attach itself to a place or an object or a doll, creating the illusion of being alive in order to get recognition. Truly, the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll. It was looking to possess a human host. The spirit, or in this case, the inhumane demonic spirit was essentially in the Warrens, as they like to call it, the infestation phase. You know, it started with the doll moving around, and then they started giving that recognition, and now it was able to communicate through the medium, and it preyed on these girls' emotions. And in probably about per my notes, in about another 2 or 3 weeks, the spirit would have completely possessed, if not harmed, according to the Warrens, all the occupants in the house. So at this point, the Warrens had felt that it was the best move would to be have an exorcism blessing by Father Cook to cleanse the apartment. The blessing, the episcop I should know this because I literally went to like Bible school, but the episcopal blessing of the home is a wordy 7-page document that's distinctly positive in nature. Rather than specifically expelling evil entities from the dwelling, the emphasis is instead directed towards filling the home with power of positive words and acts of God. This is from Ed Warren. So, as we know, when we talked a lot about their life, like despite maybe, some of the things that Mariah brought to light, that they weren't exactly always the kindest of the people in the world. Something I think we can both agree on is that their religion really was a very pertinent part of this entire experience. They weren't just two spiritual beings who, entered a house and just were like trying to, use sage. Like they are, renowned. They're not renowned. They are strict Catholics. They believe in God. So,
Her method was a little harsh.
yeah.
Like immediately. Like they never, and a lot of these like cases, the way they are described as being demonic and stuff, I guess your first notion would to be, all right, fuck this shit up. Like, But I think that they should have come at it in a more they should have like investigated more in a lighthearted way at first and see
hmm
is this actually a danger or are you going to create more chaos by shouting and creating all this stuff? In the case of Annabelle, though, I will say that did seem like reason enough.
Yeah.
But I
And
mean, when you said exorcism, exorcism, isn't that only when a person is possessed?
no, so actually, according to the Warrens, like a house can have an exorcism just alongside a human can have an exorcism. I think they're two different types of like prayers and the way they go about it. So, like, they needed to do an exorcism blessing to cleanse the apartment. And then they also needed to do an exorcism blessing on the doll. So, and this
So
kind
they
of
tried
time.
to exorcise Miss Annabelle.
So, getting into it, what I wrote down, and so Lorraine sensed this malevolent energy because, as we know, she's a gifted clairvoyant. Father Cook, although very uncomfortable as his role as the exorcist, agreed to perform this 7-page ritual, and he did it through the apartment. And the Warrens were confident at this point that the entity would no longer, take reside there. They also agreed to take the Raggedy Ann doll back home with them, Upon leaving, Ed placed the doll in his back seat and agreed he would not take the interstate in the event the humane spirit still resided in the doll. So at this point, I think what had been happening is they kind of did a blessing on both the doll and the house to prevent the entity from staying there, but it could have potentially still been attached to Annabelle, the doll. So they wanted to take it back. And Donna also was like, yeah, take this fucking thing. I want nothing to do with it. Like, fuck this. Um, and so according to Ed, his suspicions were correct, and in no time Warrens felt themselves as though um they felt themselves as an object of vicious hatred. Then, at each dangerous curve, the car swerved and stalled, with every corner causing the power steering and brakes to fail. Repeatedly, the car verged on collision. Ed reached into the back seat, into his black bag, and took a vial of holy water and doused it on the doll, making the sign of the cross over it, and the disturbance stopped immediately. And at that point, they were able to arrive home safely.
I'm sorry, I'm just dying at the fact. Could you imagine, like, you just are you driving down like 95? You're just cruising, and all of a sudden you see a car just swerve off to the side of the road, and an old man like run to the back of the car and just start pouring fucking water on a doll. Like,
Yeah, just being like, and go, beast, release me, demon.
it always trips me up how like the thing is like all of their like major stuff is not documented, and if it is, they won't show the public.
No, and like honestly, I think a lot of these experiences like happen to them like when they're not recording, and it's hard to be like, because I get it when things happen so quickly, and it's like you don't have like you're not recording while you're driving like we can today. But
But
excuse
also
me.
there's so many stuff they have where they're like, "Oh yeah, we have hundreds of footage," but they're like, "We can't release it."
Hmm.
Like, girl, be so for real.
I also think a lot of it too, and when I was looking on their site more, the Tony Spera site, I do kind of think that they're also still trying to keep their foundation and their group, this like this paranormal investigator group alive. So people actually
Tony's trying to
work.
keep it alive.
So people like, they work there. So they're probably trying to keep a lot of their findings, hauntings, like only for the people who are training to become a demonologist or something. I don't know.
Such bullshit to me though, because like people on YouTube like Sam and Colby and Project Fear and like all these other really cool Corey is another one. They are like being so honest, or what it appears to be so honest, and they're like actually catching stuff. And it's not like the crazy shit like, oh, the refrigerator flew. It's like genuine stuff that like
Mhm.
see with your eyes, like a fucking door slamming shut. I've seen that. And it's like you believe it because you watch hours of footage where nothing happens and then one thing happens and they're just as fucking scared as you watching it.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, I know you had other stuff you looked into, and I know we have to end this one soon and put up
I
another one.
know, I know. So I'll finish up the Annabelle story and we'll hop back on. So, uh, after the Warrens brought the doll back to their home, they claimed over the next actually couple of years that the doll essentially started doing the same things from Donna and Angie to them. And in one instance, the doll actually supposedly a Father Jason Bradford, a Catholic exorcist, came to the house and um, you know, you had said that this may or may not have been real, and I haven't looked too much more into it beyond this, but I guess Father Jason came to the house, said, "Hey, you're not a real demon. You can't hurt anybody, blah blah blah." But then on the way home, his brakes failed and he entered into a busy uh intersection and almost got into a fatal car accident, and it actually destroyed his vehicle after this encounter with Annabelle. So that is when they finally decided to have a special case built for Annabelle, which is the famous photo we see when we look up the Ed Warren, Lorraine Warren, the Oculate Museum, which is where it resides today. Um, and it's still there to this day. And since the case was built for Annabelle, there have been no longer, well, as far as they know, no longer any instances. However, um, She is thought to be responsible for the death of a young man who came to the museum on a motorcycle with his girlfriend. I think maybe that's the one you're saying
That's
is
the one I was thinking of. That's why I
fake.
was, what do you, so there's a different guy now?
So a priest and this guy, two people got in quote unquote almost fatal accidents. Um, so outcome, really, just to recap, is, they performed this exorcism, they took the doll, and now it resides in the home. And my stance, and really what I wanted to get into, is that we don't really know out of all this if the doll was really possessed. Like, unlike other stories that I read through, there was like clear evidence and other people witnessing this. All we had from this was the claim from Donna, Angie, and Lou, this medium who supposedly could speak to Annabelle, but who's to say she wasn't just saying shit to get money? And the Warrens. And then that was that, and it just blew up to this huge thing that this doll is like, oh my God, totally possessed. Also, according to the website, like I said, this 1970, 1971, what the heck? It was also documented that some sites said that Lou was actually the boyfriend and not the a friend. But on
Hmm.
the actual Warren site, they say that he was a friend. So with that, there's just a few other holes that I've kind of been poking into this whole story. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little Annabelle segment. Let us know what your thoughts are. Honestly, what do you think, Mariah?
It's just like, are these people like real people? Like this Lou and like, have they ever spoke? Like in my story, which is not, I mean, to me, it's not that much of a story, but like kind of true, most of it. Like there are people that came out of it that speak on it. Like there are multiple parties that have experienced it and people who can still go and speak out about it. Like me, like I've been.
Yep.
It's hard because it's a doll, so it's not like you can go and see for yourself, especially if it's in this box.
Yeah. I'm actually, funny enough, I'm trying to look up pictures of them to even see if any photos were ever like done. And truthfully, the only photo, and we're posting it on social media if you haven't checked out already, are just Ed and Lorraine Warren with the doll. I don't have any photos of actually Lou and any of them. So who's to say they're even real people?
That's so yeah, we don't know if Lou or any of them are real. Donna,
Yeah, and I'm
they
sure they
haven't like
are.
spoke,
Yeah, I
made a
from the
book,
re from the
anything.
research that I did, the only stories were just this repetitive, like the Ed and Lorraine side of it, like what they did. And maybe
Like,
that
do we even know their address? Like, is this just
Hart
something that
Hartford, Connecticut,
just a town?
in an apartment in somewhere in Hartford, Connecticut.
Because you would think they would give the address.
You think they would. But I think because the doll was possessed versus in other cases that I've researched, it was like a house was possessed.
Right.
Maybe that's why. And like I said,
But
I
like
didn't
not to
even.
get into it, like the Amityville horror, that one, the one that's like the biggest case,
Yep.
it was literally confirmed to be a hoax. And the Warrens really stood by that one. And I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I
So
guess
let us
that's my
know.
thoughts.
And I'm kind of in the same boat. There's so many holes in this story, and it's hard to really believe in it. It's kind of like Bigfoot all over again. It's like if we
Not
don't have
Bigfoot.
hard,
Leave my man Bigfoot
concrete.
alone. He telepathically communicated with Lorraine Warren and,
I mean, obviously, so
committed
he's
suicide.
real.
Sasquatch suicide.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, we'll be right back and we're going to dive into some Conjuring.
Hell yeah.
Dope.
Okay, okay. So I almost dropped my laptop. I was just that
We love
excited.
that.
All right, so getting started, we're talking about probably one of my favorite haunted destinations ever. Probably
Ooh.
I've been there twice now. And I will get into it maybe later. But something about this house, because I've been a couple times and I'm planning to go back again. It's a little scary, but it's very inviting. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like you tend to get pulled towards this place, and I don't know how else I can put it.
So you're kind of saying, so just for our listeners, you've had real life experience actually going to this next haunting location that Ed and Lorraine actually quote unquote, investigated.
Barely, but yes, they barely touched it. But
Got it.
but yeah, so I went to the Conjuring House 2 times so far. Once was the initial tour, and then the second one was to do the tour and a ghost hunting. And the next time I plan to go is going to be an overnight stay for investigation. So currently collecting
Ooh.
people who
So
want
we're
to
gonna have
join.
hard evidence here for
Mhm.
podcast content.
The only thing is the current owner is like under a lot of controversy. So, morally, do we feel okay
Ah,
about it? I don't know, but I
I
really like
see.
just like being there. And
Totally.
that's why I'm like, okay, there's something about this place. So, basically, how do you feel, Megan, about things in life that just keep happening to put you in a situation that was meant to be?
I mean, I think everything happens for a reason. I'm such a strong believer of that. You're kind of meant to be where you're meant to go. So if you have signs of something that kind of, I don't know, I think it's important to kind of look for those signs. And if you see them, listen to your gut, you know, in a
Yeah.
broad sense.
And I really think that the Perron family, who we're going to be discussing, who lived in the Conjuring House, who wrote the books, who starred in the films, I think that destiny really pushed them into this house. And why I say that
Mm.
is because the story starts with the Perron family, who purchased a home in the suburbs of Cumberland, Rhode Island in 1964. And like right after getting the home, they had a series of really, really terrible events. Their newly owned puppy, which they actually named Bathsheba, this connects to the Conjuring House later. Don't know if you've heard that name before. I'm sure you have from the movies. You said you watched it a lot,
Movies.
Megan.
I watch the movie all the time, every Halloween. It's like one of my favorite series is the Conjuring series and the Annabelle series.
Yeah, and so Bathsheba is a name that comes up in the movie, and that's skewed a bit the way they tell it in the movie, but we'll get to that. They literally had this dog and they named it Bathsheba because it was a rare breed of dog. I don't know the actual name of the breed, but this type of breed is not able to bark. And so
Oh.
basically Andrea, the oldest sister of the parent family, said that her mother, when they were trying to figure out a name for the dog, said, "Well, this is a different kind of breed. We need to name it a unique name." And they came up out of the air with Bathsheba.
Were they living at the house at this point, or was
No,
this
they
prior?
had just bought a brand new house well, I don't know about new, but it was a house in the suburbs in Cumberland, Rhode Island. This is not even the Conjuring House.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that's my miscommunication.
No, no, you're good. That's why we chat together.
Yes. So this dog, in a very tragic accident in the story of Andrea's book, it's called House of Darkness, House of Light. She tells about how the dog dies, but essentially it gets hit by a car in front of the girls, and a cop that was like a block down the road was called over, and he yelled at the girls to run away, like get away and like look away because the dog was like going to die, and he shot the dog in the back of the head
Yeah,
and or in the head wherever he shot it, but the dog died, traumatizing to the girls. And so anyway,
terrible.
the family takes a vacation. Let's get away. This is a lot. Andrea loved that fucking dog. They
Yep.
come back from vacation and they find that their house is just ransacked. One
Wow.
had cats as well, and one of the cats was hiding in the bushes, and their other two cats were missing. So when they come back, a neighborhood kid comes over and says, what happened? He says him and like one of the other neighbors like went in and did this, and the other neighborhood kid beat one of the cats to death with a baseball bat.
What? Did those kids get arrested?
No, not that I know of.
That poor
I don't
cat.
I did not read the story in full. I read previews on Google because I am not a fast reader. And I
Fair.
also listened to Astonishing Legends, which they covered the book. So a lot of these key points I get from them. So anyway,
Gorgeous.
Andrea is so upset. She just wants this kid fucking dead. And the second he is alone, so she attacks this kid the second he's alone and she breaks his nose. So a witness pulls her off and sends them home and she was pissed because she said that in her book, she says it in third person, according to Astonishing Legends. She says that Andrea was upset she failed her mission of killing this kid, like type of thing.
I
She wanted
mean,
to fuck her dead. I mean, he killed her cat. She just lost her dog. Cannot blame her.
I was gonna say, I think any responsible pet owner would react the same way. You come at my pet with a baseball bat, I'm coming with you at you with a knife. I will make it hurt 10
And
times
killing them.
worse.
Yeah, literally. So, and then on top of that, so that's two terrible things already. And then on top of that, Carolyn is the mother. Carolyn
Hmm.
Perron. She has this rock garden in the front of her yard. And one of the rocks so happens to look like a gravestone, but it's not, okay? But the weird thing is, one morning, a neighbor gets some sort of like, I think it was a heart attack. I can't quite remember, but he dies in his car. And his truck veers off and crashes into this rock and he's dead. Crashes into the gravestone, he's dead.
Of their house.
Yes. Yep. So they're like accused of, you did this like for like planning a fucking gravestone in the yard, that sort of thing.
And they're like, it's a rock.
No, seriously. Also, okay, third bad thing, right? Like this is just insane. And
It
so
happens in threes.
it's terrible. And so the Perrin family is just like mainly Carolyn. She's like, my daughter is miserable. Like she's getting angry and all these terrible things are happening to us. I don't want to be here anymore. This sucks.
Yep.
So she decides she wants out and she stumbles across an ad on a newspaper and it shows the Arnold Estates, which now we know as the Conjuring House. It's located in Harrisville. I believe Astonishing Legends Googled it, and it's about 30 minutes away from the current property that they're at with all this terrible stuff.
Got it.
She goes to see the property with a friend. I think the name was Amy. I didn't write that down in my notes, but I re-listened multiple times and I read a little bit, and I think it was Amy. Not that it matters. So anyway, she goes with this friend. She falls in love with the house. It's just beautiful. It's so much so, like, even knowing that she probably can't afford it, even though it's more reasonably priced than it should have been, she writes the seller, Mr. Kenyon, a check for $500 as a way to say, please don't sell this to anyone until I can figure out a way to purchase this home, like earnest money.
Yep.
Keep in mind that $500 is like the last bit of their money, like besides necessities.
Right.
While her husband, he works as a salesman. Her husband, Roger, he knew nothing about this. He told her multiple times, we can't get another house. And so when he's gone on this trip, she writes this check. And he finally comes home and they have a heated discussion. And, he's like, Carolyn, why the fuck did you give away like half of our money that we had in the bank towards this? Like, we still don't even have enough money. Like, even if I
Hmm.
agreed to this. So Carolyn says, please just see the house. Like, and she somehow convinces him, okay, we'll all go see the house. So they see it. They all fall in love with the fucking house. This entire family. I believe there was 5 kids and they were all
Yep.
girls.
Yep.
It was, okay, yeah. And so, the whole family decides to come together and raise enough money for the house. And I think that took about a period of
Sweet.
5 to 8 months, but like they were like, building stuff, selling stuff, like they were just raising money in order to afford the house.
Wow.
And Mr. Kenyon was okay with that because he actually didn't even want to sell it. He was an older gentleman, and his son was the one that really wanted him to leave because he was concerned about his health at that point.
Hmm.
So it was a win-win. And at that time, between those months, the Perron family would come back to that house very often and check out the property and hang out with Mr. Kenyon. He always had candies he gave the girls. Nothing suspicious ever was a thing. So, anyway, the very first day that they get into this house, they finally get the house. Mr. Kenyon, he hasn't even like act because he really loves this house. The day
Hmm.
that they're moving in, he's finally starting to move out. And the first day that they move in is on a snowstorm. And it is also the first day that they see any paranormal activity. So the girls are carrying boxes into the kitchen and they see Mr. Kenyon. He's putting his glasses away into a box and they see this man. It's one by one. So it's the first girl goes in, I believe it was Andrea, and she sees this man next to Mr. Kenyon, and she doesn't really say anything because she figures, okay, maybe it's someone helping with the move. The
Hmm.
next comes in and she goes, who is mom? Like, who is this man? And everybody's like, what man? Like, it's probably his son. You know what I mean? And it's not. They know who his son is. And so on and so forth. The girls start coming in, and all the girls are looking around like, who is this guy? He's not saying anything. He looks nice. He's just smirking. And at the very end, the last girl comes in and he just fades away, this character that's looking at Mr. Kenyon.
Hmm.
That was their first experience. And Roger actually told Mr. Kenyon, I heard in an interview given by Andrea, like in the past couple years, she said that her dad actually offered for Mr. Kenyon to stay with them, and he did decline because he was like, no, it's fine. But he did
Right.
tell Roger that he said this before they moved in, and Roger didn't believe in the paranormal, so keep that in mind. He said,
Hmm.
for the safety of your family, leave the lights on at night. That was the thing he told him the day they moved in.
So he might have already known something
I think
sketch
he
was
knew.
going on, but he
I
didn't
think he
know how to
knew, and
say it.
I think that the reason he didn't say anything was because, you don't know if people believe, you don't know what people's beliefs are, which
Hmm.
Roger did not believe in the paranormal, so it wouldn't have been taken well. So,
Hmm.
and Mr. Kenyon loved this home, so obviously he didn't think anything negative would come out of it. He probably thought, well, the spirits will make themselves known and take it with a grain of salt.
Hmm. Yeah, once he sells the house, it's no longer his responsibility.
Exactly.
There's no law stated. I mean, I think if like a house was there was a murder in a house, I think a realtor has to be like someone was murdered in this house. But
Right.
like there's no law like, oh, there's ghosts in this house.
I will say though, there is only one, and I only know this from my tours that I've taken. There's only one confirmed death on the property.
Oh.
But a lot of sources will tell you there's this death and that death and this death, and
Hmm.
they're all kind of legend.
Gotcha.
That happens. So basically, the let me tell you some of the basic, hauntings that would happen. So Andrea's sister Cindy would hear voices every night around her bed saying there are 7 dead soldiers in the wall every night for the 10 years that they lived there. So Cindy would crawl into Andrea's bed a lot, scared.
Oh my gosh.
So the cat would hiss, and oh, by the way, about the 7 dead soldiers, both in videos and on tours, it is somewhat confirmed that there are bodies actually buried by the stone walls outside of the house, not in the house like you would assume. Basically,
Hmm.
when you look outside, there's a stone wall in towards the back end of the backyard, and in the like between the house and that stone wall, there's little flags that are marked, and that is where they believe there are dead bodies because they did some sort of machine to uh that detects bones or some sort of fragment. I don't even know what it was that they used.
Right.
But essentially, it kind of is low-key confirmed that there are bodies there,
Okay.
probably from a war years and years and years ago, like way before the house was built. But
Right.
nothing, I don't believe we could confirm because it was so long ago. So anyway,
Hmm.
other things, the cat would hiss and never come through the front door. Always believe your animals, folks.
True.
Their new dog, they did get a new dog. He would never go through the hallway, even when Roger placed a giant stake in the other room to try and get him from going from one room to the other. He would never go.
It's like, nah, I'm safer where I am.
Oh, seriously. Items were misplaced all the time, like that sort of thing.
Okay.
So obviously, your standard, and I say this because I experienced it there. I'm sure it was all the time, but it's kind of like, left out because it's kind of like, well, duh, it's a haunted house. You
Right.
hear like bangs and stuff like that. You hear
Hmm.
noises in the house. I know it's an old
Gotcha.
house, but still. So one story that's told, and it makes me kind of doubtful about this,
Oh
is that
boy.
in the book, um, basically, Andrea writes that her mother, Carolyn, goes into the barn one day to see if it makes sense for them to get some farm animals. In the barn, she notices a hand scythe and is very confused how she didn't notice it before. When she's leaving, she turns around and saw the scythe spinning in the air repetitively and starts plunging towards her. She's
Okay.
frozen in place, staring, before it strikes her hard against her neck and shoulder and then falls to the ground. She reaches to grab at her wounds, but realizes that the bulky outfit she wore in this cold winter morning had protected her.
Huh.
I mean, girl,
Yeah.
I believe that The Conjuring's haunted, but I'm a little iffy on that one.
Yeah, especially if the neck, like I don't think any jacket would like cover your neck.
I just like
Maybe.
it's just a lot.
Yeah, it's a little iffy.
Like I'm a firm believer in the afterlife and all this stuff, but that's just intense. I feel like they can do intense stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot. A random scythe that wasn't there before just spinning in the yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
So then another story in the book, and this one's very, very scary. So in the bad spirits of the house, because there are many, there are really good spirits, there are bad entities. So one night, Carolyn was visited by what is known as the Crooked Neck Lady. I don't know if that's portrayed in the film. Is there a Crooked Neck Lady or is it just Bathsheba?
They do introduce like other characters who have like quote unquote died in the house from like Bathsheba forcing them to kill themselves and like kill
Oh my
the
God, not even true.
but like I don't think there was like a crooked neck lady.
Okay, so basically, it's known as the Crooked Neck Lady. She has like her head cocked to the side, barely hanging on, is why they call her that,
Ooh.
as if she was like hanged or hung herself.
Mm-hmm.
So this lady is floating over her bed, seemingly studying her. Carolyn is frantic. She tries waking up her husband, Roger, frantically grabbing at his hair, like scratching his legs with her toenails, trying to wake him up. Nothing wakes him up. She thinks he's dead. The lady that's floating over her bed has no face, no hands, no feet, wiry hair from her head. She has like this face that's like a bee's hive and crooked, sharp, jagged teeth, which confused me because it said there's no face, but yet she has like crooked, jagged teeth, like
I was
yellow.
just
And
about to say that. I'm already poking a hole in that, but still
so
creepy.
I'm thinking, yeah, I know, right? So I'm thinking like maybe majority, like no nose, no eye. I don't know. Anyway, that's what it
Yeah.
was said. Smelling like rotting flesh. By the way, that was a frequent smell in the home. A lanky arm flops next to Carolyn's head on the bed, and she hides under the covers, thinking she's gonna die and her husband's dead. And the last thing she says is, God help me. And shortly after, the entity vanishes. And of course, Roger was not dead. He just didn't wake up during that whole ordeal. Um,
Weird.
could this be a what did you call it? That dream state?
Lucid dreaming.
No, no, the other
Oh,
one that
sleep paralysis.
you think could be.
I was gonna say the fact that you're scratching, like I would almost like want to know Roger's like sleep patterns. Does he
True.
naturally not sleep well, like, or does he naturally sleep super deeply to the point that, he fucking, you know, doesn't wake up to anything?
So, but there was
Or
also, I have no idea. But there was also this other story that was very like, where apparently one night Carolyn wakes up and there's like this, no, I'm gonna sound crazy for this one. I hadn't heard about this one
oh,
till
I'm
recently.
ready.
I was like, okay, this is getting too much for me. So Carolyn wakes up to chanting around her bed and these spirit entities with these torches, slamming the torches on the ground, saying something about being sacrificed to fire or some sort of thing. And they're chanting over and over again, like, who, who, who. And so,
Ooh.
anyway, then Carolyn's freaking the fuck out. Again, her husband doesn't wake up. And the bed gets dragged in the middle of the room, and the crooked neck lady appears. And then, once again, the same sort of thing where she is praying uncontrollably. The ghost is about to come up, and the crooked neck lady is about to come up and give Roger the kiss of death. But somehow, some way, power of God, he vanishes. She vanishes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Roger
So,
vanishes.
yeah, Roger is gone. He actually didn't make it.
He's actually dead.
There
Oh
was
my God.
also a bunch of flies that were all throughout the Conjuring house, even in the winter, which we know is a sign for, very haunted destinations.
Ooh. Okay.
But
Good to know.
those stories that really, I don't know.
A little on
I
the fence
the,
there.
the house is very much, in my opinion, haunted.
Yep.
It's just the stories I hear sometimes I think are exaggerated or taken out of the context in the sense that it might be like a vision or a you know what I'm saying? Like a
Yep.
trance. I could see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I
So
think a lot of like even like in the horror movies, they try to portray that to make things scarier where you think something's happening, but something else is.
yes, they didn't even call anybody. It was actually these college kids, Keith and Carl Johnson, that came to the house, and they claimed that Carolyn called them. She denies this. She says she has no idea how they even stumbled across their house.
Mm-hmm.
In a recent interview that Andrea told on Two Girls, One Ghost, hilarious name, by the way, Two Girls,
Love
One
that.
Ghost. They're
I love
actually
that.
from New England, like us, by the way. So they're like right next to us. They like live right by you, I think, Megan.
Oh my God, collab.
Right? So, she said, they had brought up in that interview that what if it was like a mimic ghost that called these people? Because this ghost that was in their house, The Conjuring, would manipulate their technology a lot.
I mean, it's
It's an
possible.
interesting thought. I
Because
guess
like
I could.
also like what was the call about? Why would she call random college kids to come
Oh,
over?
they're into paranormal. They're there for they're paranormal investigators.
Oh, I see.
So okay. So these two college kids come across the house. They like experiment, like go through the house and stuff. They think, okay, this isn't a job for us hooligans. They are the ones that called the Warrens.
The Warrens.
They're the ones.
Oh
They
boy.
the Warrens come over and they insist on a séance. And Lorraine says that the evil spirit is Asheba.
Ooh.
Andrea says and stands by the fact she doesn't believe that it was Bathsheba, and she puts the negativity on the crooked neck lady that we've been talking about, which I would also agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I
Because,
wonder if the crooked neck lady is Bathsheba.
well, so I don't think so. I actually agree
Oh.
for you. So, who's Bathsheba? Bathsheba Sherman was accused of murdering an infant in her care by shoving a sewing needle in the back of its skull. It was said that she also had three children who never made it past age 7. There wasn't enough evidence that she had done anything to this infant at the time, and she walked free when she was tried for it. But
Okay.
the town never forgave her and thought that she did this as a sacrifice to a ritual.
Oh.
Her gravestone was actually vandalized so badly throughout the years that the city removed it. But if you look into Bathsheba's history, there's actually no record of any child dying in her care and no report of any of her children dying young.
Hmm.
There's no, and astonishing legends digged into this even further, and there is actually no infant anywhere at the time, at any time in the 1800s, that had been reported to die this way by a sewing needle. So this is a complete legend, and Bathsheba is just shit on for like almost zero reason that we know of. Like no one can prove shit.
Right. It's dude, like were there documents of her other children like at all?
According to astonishing legends, she did have other children and they all lived well over 7. They were like adults.
Huh. So this poor woman just kind
She's
of like
just
the
attacked for
Scarlet
no reason.
Letter.
But it is funny that they named the dog. I almost wonder, is it because they named the dog Bathsheba and there's this connection to this legend Bathsheba where they point the witch as this evil entity?
Huh. Yeah, I mean, and
So,
it could go back to that theory that you said, like when people are pushed into things, you know what I mean? Like
right.
maybe the connection was that. Yeah, that's trippy.
Maybe it's so the Conjuring movies would happen, you know? Things happen for a reason.
Exactly. Exactly. The whole haunting was just so we could make a movie about it.
Why is it haunted? Who is the crooked neck lady? Well, it's possible that the crooked neck lady could be Susan Arnold. She didn't live on the property, but she did die by suicide. She is in the Arnold family by some way, some sort of way, whether it be distant or not. Her
Hmm.
last name's Arnold. She died by a suicide. She hung herself. She died 6 miles away from this property.
Okay.
So I could see that being very plausible.
Yeah. Did
Why
they?
is she evil? I don't know. Is she evil? Is it, who knows? It could just be a demonic entity. Who
Yeah,
knows?
posing. Yeah. So
So,
what did the Warrens do then? What the fuck did they
got you.
do?
Going back to these Warren folk who decided they wanted to do a goddamn seance. So they decide to do the seance. It's Ed, Lorraine, Carolyn, Roger in a room. They tell the girls, go upstairs, go to bed, do not come down for any fucking reason. Kids being kids, they come down and they're all like watching in the stairwell. Mainly it's only Andrea really that can see, and I believe her sister Cindy, it could have been a different one, but I believe it was Cindy that was
Hmm.
closest to her. So, let's see. During the seance, her mother starts howling in pain. Her body contorts. Andrea says she was not possessed. It was a seance. This was not an exorcism. She very much wants people to know that her mother was not possessed.
Hmm.
So she was, during the seance, being attacked by an evil spirit. The table lifted and it slammed back down. Lights were going off uncontrollably. Carolyn's chair that she was sitting on lifts into the air, and in a split second, it's thrown 20 feet across the house into the other room, crashing into the parlor, and then Carolyn is basically knocked unconscious. Everybody thinks she may be dead. They don't know.
Hmm.
They just saw her fly across the room after screaming, speaking in tongues, by the way. It could have been another language. They can't verify. No one knew at the time. No one spoke another language there. That was before she, got thrown and
Right.
just missed that part.
Totes
So
my
anyway,
goats.
So Roger goes to check on his wife, and Ed grabs him and says, "No, you can't. It's too dangerous." And Roger just fucking clocks Ed in the face and says, like, "Get the fuck out of my house." He kicks the Warrens out. They don't even know if like Carolyn is alive or dead. They're just being
Mhm.
told, "Get the fuck out. Like, I'm going for my wife, and you guys have caused enough damage." So before they leave, though, interesting tidbit from the interview that I got. And I don't think Andrea likes the Warrens. I don't blame her because of all this happening. She said it was the worst experience of her life.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess before they left, Ed looks over into that little hallway the sisters were hiding in and saw Andrea and one of the sisters um watching everything going down, holding each other, crying, not knowing if their mother had died. And Ed says to them, "Don't call the police." And that was the only thing he said to the girls before that he left.
'Ooh,
'Cause he didn't want anything to do with this bad situation that had just happened. Thinking,
right.
well, what if she did die? If she did die and they were there, obviously no one's gonna think that it was a ghost and they're gonna get,
Arrested. Yeah.
yeah.
Or at least questioned.
And that is the story on the Conjuring House. Actually, the parents did move out. I should probably tell you that. They moved out in 1980. They sold it to the Schwartz family, who then sold it to a Norma Sutcliffe in 1987. Norma was there for 1987 to 2019, so a very, very long time. She claimed that she never experienced any paranormal activity. She even ran a daycare during her time living here. And when the Conjuring movie came out, the daycare actually had to close because the parents were unaware of the hauntings that the parents had experienced. And they slowly started pulling their children out. Now, as grown-ups, the ones that are there from a long time ago, they
Yep.
one they had one point attended the daycare. They come back to do the haunted tours. And both times I've gone on the haunted tours, this has been confirmed that children often come back and see these tours and they confirm, oh no, there was a lot of weird stuff going on. And even to this day, you can still see drawings of the crooked neck lady throughout, like on the whiteboard. I believe, not the whiteboard, really. I'm thinking of the whiteboard because that's where they normally tell me that story. But
Uh-huh.
down in the basement, there's a white thing that children drew pictures of the crooked neck lady on.
Oh, creepy.
And I actually have some pictures that I could send for you to throw up there.
Oh my God, yes, because we're showing and sharing as much as we can on this social uh adventure that we're on of the hauntings of the Warrens.
And that is the story of the Conjuring House. And I didn't even get into my experience, and I didn't even get into Sammy Colby's Zoo or anything. Like, there is so much on this house.
Oh,
I If you want something that's gonna make you believe in the paranormal, this is the fucking house.
all right. Well, so we may, who knows? Can't commit to it, but we may have to drop a part three, guys, on this story.
I don't know. It's a lot. And really, like, I feel like the main story has been told. If anybody wants, like, a mini story, I feel like I don't have much to add on what I had experienced because I spoke about majority. I had one of the my favorite rooms that I get the most experiences in is the library room, which
Hmm.
actually ghosts have thrown out two books majority, like they'll just like casually throw books out and it's on videotape. And one of
Hmm.
them is like better sex. And it's actually kind of funny and no one knows why the spirits choose that book.
That's actually hilarious. And
Yeah.
it's so hard too, like on video, who's to say that it like, wasn't like a string that somebody like,
No, it's like a security. I believe it.
oh,
And
okay,
I've seen it
okay.
on like Cam and Colby videos. There is actually a lot more now that I'm thinking about it, but like we literally like this, we won't revisit this for a while, I don't think. I think I need to get my head out of Conjuring. I think if I were to do the overnight with Meg, we'd have to definitely come back and I can tell all the other stories.
Yeah, and also we did release under our incognito days, there is a the story of the Conjuring House that you and Keith spoke to the last time you went. So if you want to know more about Mariah and Keith's experience at the latest time that they went to the house, you can also revisit that episode there.
Did we delete it?
No, I'm leaving
Oh.
that one. We're
But
slowly getting rid
also,
of other
uh,
ones.
the last time I went is even better. So
Oh,
I
wow.
actually talked to a spirit there, but
Ooh,
I
all
don't have
right.
enough time in this.
All right, guys. So with that, I mean, we'll have to revisit this in a couple weeks. We're about to go on a road trip and we have some more fun content coming at you. So stay tuned, follow us on social because we need it.
Yes. Meg and I are going to be traveling across the United States again, and our last one was deleted, but this time,
We're
hopefully it
ready.
won't if we even do record. Because
We'll
this
figure
would
it
be good
out.
audio quality.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out. That might be something that we figure out as we go. It might be a we record while
Yeah.
we're in the
We
hotel
re
room.
we record while Keith is driving and we're in the back seat with these.
Honestly, I was kind of thinking that's probably the way it's gonna be.
Yeah, we will see. But all right,
Ugh.
any guys.
Any guys? Anyway, guys,
Okay, guys, we be keeping it real, keep it freaky, keep it naturally.
naturally, adios.